When we have an abundance of a certain supply, we usually take more than what we need. For example, if we put a large bottle of hand sanitizer, people will take more than one pump. The Amazon rainforest is so large and vast that people are cutting trees down at an alarming rate, which is causing deforestation. The United States Environmental Protection Agency defines deforestation as the permanent removal of standing forests. This clearing of trees wreaks havoc on the ecosystem by destroying the animals and plants that inhabit these areas. In the Amazon rainforest, deforestation is an issue that started with government incentives in the 1970s and 1980s. The leadership at that time viewed the forest as a security issue and created the National Institute of Colonization and Agrarian Reform, also known as INCRA, to conquer the forest and make it an agricultural stronghold, according to Time magazine. While the most policies are now gone from that time, the most controversial policy that's in place still remains, which is the policy of building roads. From 2004 to 2012, deforestation dropped about 85%, and that was due to pressure from other countries and institutes that really pressured Brazil to take deforestation seriously. But in 2014, Brazil fell into a slight recession, which in turn encouraged deforestation.
Now, some of the deforestation effects. Some of the cons are destruction of the ecosystem and its resources, mainly regarding the trees, the soil, and the plants and animals that inhabit the area. And pros, creation of a lot of profit for these big businesses. And those big businesses, they also create jobs. And those are some of the deforestation effects. Now going on to the cons of deforestation. According to Pashimina.org, around 70% of animal and plant species live in forests, and deforestation destroys its land. Deforestation wreaks havoc on wildlife and plants. From the removal of trees and other types of vegetation, this reduces available food, shelter, and breeding habitat. So you're basically taking the ecosystem that these animals thrive and you're just flipping it on its head, and a lot of these animals are not able to survive as they once were due to this change in their ecosystem. Their habitats become fragmented, which leads to the animals being put in potentially dangerous situations. They're much more likely to come into contact with humans, which could then, humans could hunt them. They could also run them over while crossing the street, just to name a few examples. According to Aslo Life Sciences, deforestation is a major cause of soil erosion, perhaps the main cause. Soil erosion is the degrading of soil, and the soil is basically the essential life cycle of the forest. And whenever you deforest an area, you are cutting down the trees, as well as digging out the soil from the trees. And these trees help contain water, which helps retain a lot of these nutrients. So when you completely rip them out, you're left with a barren land. Nothing's able to survive, as you could have seen in our background picture. There's nothing really living and growing there. Without these nutrients, the topsoil breaks down, and this increases chances of flooding, which is another huge problem with that impacts the ecosystem. Those are some of the cons of deforestation.
So getting into more of the hard numbers, according to Yale, 80% of deforestation in the Amazon is caused by the Brazilian beef industry, clearing trees to make room for cattle so they can raise and grow and export beef. According to the Rainforest Action Network, 3.5 to 7 billion trees are cut down annually. And this is all over the world. So you have the Amazon rainforest, you have in the United States, China, all these countries are contributing to this deforestation globally. And so in 2014, there was the New York Declaration on Forests, and they wanted to cut deforestation worldwide in half. But according to their recent report in 2020, deforestation has actually increased by 43%. So with all these cons, why isn't anything really being done? Why did we see that 43% increase? Well, money is a very good negotiator, and it's very hard to argue with how much money comes from the actions that cause deforestation. Going back to the Brazilian beef industry, they are worth $6.7 billion, according to CNN, and they employ over 581,000 people. Now, these people are, worldwide distributors, but it's also the indigenous people of Brazil, cutting back on the trees and growing these cattle. And for them, they need that money to make their livelihoods and to survive. And so that's a very difficult topic to try and argue against. Also, the world logging industry is worth $509.8 billion worldwide, according to Business Research Company. And so these numbers and the amount of money they bring in is a very difficult selling point for trying to slow down deforestation rates. But because most of their exports and resources come from the destruction of trees and the deforestation, we need to work on saving these resources so that that business is still there in the future. So what exactly can we do to help?
So let's get some propositions for solutions. Well, it starts with you, because, you put a drop in and a ripple creates a wave. Just spreading awareness of the effects of deforestation really helps, because knowing is half the battle. Voting on policies to directly regulate land use companies cannot mass produce. In the NPR, there was a recent study done by one of their authors looking at some of the policies in the Tunga Alaskan forests. And these policies could help to either cut down trees there or to help preserve these lands. And these are some policies that you could be voting on. As well as this, you could always advocate to eat less imported beef and eat more locally grown.
Oh no, my computer froze. Shoot. I don't know if you can see that.
So leading to less destruction and saving these resources that the Amazon provides is really essential, because these lands take hundreds of years to grow back. And is it really worth all that money just because this beef and logging really helps industries and jobs? Sure, you get a lot of jobs, but it's up to you to decide on whether these policies and restrictions are worth supporting or worth rejecting, because it really makes a difference on the Amazon reforests, because these policies are what decide these destructions of resources.
Thank you for listening to our presentation, and you have a great day.